There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. Genesis 6 verse 4. Silence. The Bible does not explain who they were. It assumes you already know. Who were the Nephilim? Where did they come from? And why does Scripture track their bloodline across 15 books of the Bible, from before the flood all the way to the valley of Elah? These are not questions the text raises carelessly. Every mention is deliberate, every name recorded, every clan cataloged, every giant destroyed. Before a single answer is offered, understand this. What you are about to trace through Scripture is not legend, not mythology, and not metaphor. It is one of the most carefully documented and consistently pursued threads in the entire biblical narrative. Now we move into Genesis chapter 6 verses 1 through 4. Before the flood, humanity has multiplied across the earth. And then the text introduces something that stops careful readers cold. It names a group called the Bene Ha-Elohim, a Hebrew phrase meaning sons of God. Not sons of men, not a human dynasty or a godly family line. The phrase carries a specific weight in Hebrew literature. Cross-reference it to Job chapter 1 verse 6, the sons of God present themselves before the Lord. Job chapter 2 verse 1, the same assembly. Job chapter 38 verse 7, these same beings sang together at the foundation of the earth. In every instance, the term refers to heavenly beings standing in the presence of God. This is not a title for human beings living righteously. It is a designation for beings of an entirely different order. And Genesis 6 says they came down, saw the daughters of men, and took wives from among them. Let that settle for a moment. So who exactly were the Nephilim? Genesis 6 verse 4 names them directly. They were the offspring of that union, the sons of God and the daughters of men. The text calls them mighty men, men of renown. That phrase carries enormous weight in the ancient world. These were not ordinary figures lost to obscurity. They were known, remembered, feared. Now, two major interpretive positions exist on the identity of the sons of God, and both deserve honest treatment. The first position holds that the sons of God were fallen angelic beings who crossed a boundary they were never meant to cross, producing a hybrid offspring that corrupted the human line. The second position argues they were the godly line of Seth, men who compromised by intermarrying with the daughters of Cain. Both positions have sincere scholars behind them. Both carry scriptural weight, but the text does not resolve the tension for us. It simply records what happened and then shows us what followed. And what followed changed everything. Genesis 6 verse 5. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Then verses 11 and 12 arrive with equal weight. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And that word corrupt carries everything. In Hebrew, shachat, to ruin, to destroy from within, to bring something to a state beyond recovery. Scripture does not say some flesh had corrupted itself, it says all flesh. And standing inside that corruption were the Nephilim. Then one name separates from the rest, Noah, described as tamim, blameless, whole, complete. One family set apart. The flood was not random judgment, it was God's first direct answer to what Genesis 6 had described. The corruption demanded a response, and the response came. The flood recedes. The waters pull back. 8 people step onto dry ground, and the world begins again. Centuries pass, generations multiply, and then, in Numbers 13, something unexpected surfaces. 12 spies enter Canaan and return 40 days later. Their report is not what Israel hoped to hear. The land devours its inhabitants, they say, and the sons of Anak are there. Then comes the line that stops everything. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes. These men are identified directly as Nephilim, the same word, the same lineage. After a global flood that Scripture says covered every mountain, they are standing in Canaan. The question Israel faced is now yours. How did they survive? The text does not offer a simple answer. It simply places them there, named, towering, present. The flood was God's first response, but the lineage was not finished, and Canaan was waiting. Israel stood at the edge of everything they had been promised, and they turned back. Numbers 14 records what fear produced. The people wept through the night. They accused God of cruelty. They spoke of appointing a new leader to take them back to Egypt, back to chains, because chains felt safer than giants. God's response was measured and devastating. 40 years in the wilderness, 1 year for every day the spies walked through the land. Every man and woman who wept that night would die before the promise was entered. An entire generation forfeited inheritance because of what they believed about themselves standing next to the sons of Anak. Notice what the text does not say. It does not say, the Nephilim defeated Israel. It does not say the giants drove them back. Israel never even crossed the border. The Nephilim did not stop Israel. Israel stopped itself. Fear of the wrong thing cost an entire generation everything. That is the consequence Scripture records. After a generation perished in the wilderness, Moses stood at the edge of a new beginning. In Deuteronomy 2 and 3, something remarkable happens. God himself speaks to Moses and names the giant clans by name. Not as rumors, not as exaggerations from frightened spies. By name, by region, by lineage. The Anakim, the Rephaim, the Emim, the Zamzumim, the Horim. Each clan is given its territory with the same precision Scripture uses to catalog the tribes of Israel. God tells Moses where these peoples lived, who displaced them, and what became of their lands. He traces their geography like a surveyor marking boundaries. This is not the language of mythology, this is the language of record. And here is what that means. When God names something, he is not acknowledging legend. He is identifying a reality he intends to address. These clans were real. Their presence in the land was deliberate, and God was already moving against them. Among all the giant clans God named, one figure stands apart with striking specificity. Deuteronomy 3 verse 11 records Og, king of Bashan, as the last of the Rephaim. Scripture does not leave his size to imagination. His iron bed measured 9 cubits long and 4 cubits wide, measured by the standard cubit. That is approximately 13.5 feet in length. The text places this bed in Rabbah of the Ammonites as if preserved for verification. But what follows the description matters more than the dimensions. God speaks to Moses before the battle, "Do not fear him, for I have given him into your hand." And Israel defeated him, leaving no survivor. This is the pattern Scripture has been building. Every clan God names, God also delivers. The destruction of Og was not a military achievement. It was the continuation of a divine directive that traces its origin all the way back to Genesis 6. God was systematically dismantling what corruption had built. Joshua does not receive a land at peace, he receives a mandate. Joshua 11 verses 21 through 22 records what that mandate required. Joshua cut off the Anakim from the hill country, from Hebron, from Debir, from Anab, from all the hill country of Judah, and from all the hill country of Israel. City by city, ridge by ridge, the campaign moves through terrain that had been held by these clans for generations. The text describes near total destruction. None of the Anakim were left in the land of the people of Israel. But the verse does not end there. 3 cities are named where survivors remained: Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod. The narrator does not rush past those names: Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod. 3 cities, 3 remnants. The lineage is not finished, and Gath, specifically, is where something survives. What remains there will not stay quiet. 400 years will pass, and Gath will speak again. Joshua left Gath standing. 1 Samuel 17 shows us why that mattered. Goliath steps out of Gath and into the valley of Elah. The text does not leave his description to imagination. His height was 6 cubits and a span. His bronze helmet, his coat of armor weighing 5,000 shekels of bronze, his bronze greaves, his bronze javelin. His spear shaft was like a weaver's beam, and its iron head weighed 600 shekels. This is a descendant of the Anakim, a remnant of what Joshua did not finish. For 40 days he issues his challenge. Twice each day, morning and evening, no one moves. Then a shepherd from Bethlehem steps forward. David kills Goliath with a single stone and a sling. Do not rush past this moment. This is not simply a story about courage. This is 400 years of lineage meeting 400 years of promise. What survived Gath did not survive David. 2 Samuel 21 verses 15 through 22. 4 more giants emerged from Gath. 4 more descendants of the same bloodline that survived the flood, endured the wilderness years, and outlasted Joshua's campaign. David's mighty men faced them one by one. Ishbi-Benob, Saph, a man who defied Israel. And one more, described with striking precision by Scripture. A man of great stature with 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in number. He taunted Israel. He fell. The passage closes with words that carry the full weight of everything that came before. These 4 were descended from the giants in Gath, and they fell by the hand of David and by the hand of his servants. The biblical trail ends here. Not with legend, not with myth, with names, with numbers, and with a closing summary written as historical record. The last descendant falls, and Scripture marks the moment precisely. Step back now. Further than Gath, further than Canaan, further than the flood. Genesis 3, verse 15. God speaks to the serpent, "I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel." Every giant destroyed along this trail was the protection of that promise. The Nephilim lineage was not random corruption, it was a targeted assault on the bloodline through which the seed would come. Then Revelation 12 verses 7 through 9, war breaks out in heaven. Michael and his angels fight the dragon. The dragon is cast down. What began in Genesis 6 was never merely a human problem, it was cosmic, it was ancient, and it was answered systematically, deliberately, by God himself. The last descendant fell in Gath, the seed came through Bethlehem, but the imprisoned angels of Jude 1 verse 6 are still waiting. That story comes next. What you've just witnessed was never merely a story of giants rising and falling, it was a glimpse into something far greater. From the very beginning, the battle was never about them. It was always about the promised seed. If this stirred something deeper in you, then journey with us. Subscribe to Eternal Light, where each episode peels back the layers of Scripture, drawing closer to the original text, allowing the Bible to speak in its own voice, unfiltered, undiluted. This is not just content, it is an unfolding excavation of truth.